The war did not start with fire. It started with silence. In the deep black of space, broken ships floated like dead stars. Smoke, metal, and cold light filled the battlefield. Sirens echoed inside damaged hulls, calling for help that would never come. Among the wreckage, a human soldier drifted slowly. His name was Evan Carter. His armor was cracked. His right arm would not move. Blood floated in small red drops inside his helmet. Every breath felt heavy. His ship was gone. His team was gone. Only the war remained. Evan tried to turn his head. Through the cracked visor, he saw alien fighters retreating. The battle was over. Humans had lost this sector. Again. He closed his eyes for a moment. Just one moment. But space never allowed rest. A warning beep pulled him back. Low life support. Emergency protocol active. Near him, a strange pod drifted between the wrecks. Smooth silver metal. No weapons. No symbols. A medical healing pod, used by both sides long ago, before the war became endless. Evan pushed his thrusters with weak power. Pain shot through his body. He gritted his teeth. Just a little more, he whispered. Inside the shadows of the same battlefield, another body moved. She was not human. Her skin had a soft blue tone, marked with glowing lines. Her armor was cracked too, burning at the edges. One of her horns was broken. Her eyes, sharp and golden, stayed open despite the pain. She was an alien warrior of the Varelian Empire. Her name was Sarah. Sarah hated humans. She was raised to hate them, taught that humans were loud, violent, and dangerous. The reason her world burned. The reason her people suffered, and now she was dying in human space. Her ship exploded minutes ago. Her squad was gone. The void pulled at her broken body, then she saw it. The same healing pod. Her eyes narrowed. Human tech. She hissed, but healing pods were older than the war. Built by forgotten races, neutral, automatic, they did not care who entered. Sarah forced her body forward. Pain screamed through her nerves. Still, she moved. At the same time, Evan reached the pod. His hand touched the surface. The pod reacted instantly. Emergency detected. Multiple life forms nearby. The door began to open. Evan smiled weakly. Lucky me. Then he saw her. Blue skin, glowing eyes. Gunked bow began to open. Evan smiled weakly. Lucky me. Then he saw her. Blue skin, multiple life forms nearby. The door began to open. Alien armor. His hand froze. Alien. He breathed. Sarah saw him too. A human. Alive. Her fingers tightened around her blade. Even injured, her training took control. They both reached the pod at the same time. The door opened wider. They crashed inside. Together. The door slammed shut. Locked. Red light filled the pod. Evan tried to push her away. Sarah raised her blade. Stay back. Evan shouted. You will die, human. Sarah growled. The pod ignored them. Critical condition detected. Activating healing sequence. Blue light wrapped around their bodies. Thin energy lines connected their chests, arms, and heads. Evan gasped. What is this? Sarah struggled, hitting the walls. Release me. The pod spoke in a calm, cold voice. Dual occupancy detected. Emergency bonding protocol active. Both froze. Bonding? Evan said. What does that mean? Sarah's eyes widened. No, that protocol is forbidden. Energy surged. Pain exploded inside Evan's head. Images flashed fire, screams, a burning city. But it was not his memory. He saw an alien sky falling apart, towers breaking, children running. A blue planet on fire. Sarah screamed. She saw a human child hiding under a table. Soldiers shouting. A home collapsing. Their memories were mixing. Get out of my mind, Evan yelled. You are inside mine. Sarah shouted back. The pod's voice returned. Bond required for survival. Emotional balance necessary. Separation will result in death. Silence filled the pod. They stared at each other. Enemies. Killers. Survivors. If we separate, Evan said slowly, we die? Yes, Sarah replied. Her voice shook. The pod will shut down. Evan swallowed. His heart pounded. Outside, space was quiet. Inside, two enemies were trapped together. The healing pod began its work, pulling them closer, forcing their bodies and minds into sync. Sarah lowered her blade, not by choice, by weakness. Evan lowered his weapon too. They did not trust each other. They did not forgive each other. But for the first time in the long bloody war, a human and an alien had no choice but to survive together. And somewhere deep in the pod system, an old warning flashed unnoticed. Bond detected between hostile species. Historical risk level. Extreme. The war was about to change. The healing pod sealed itself tighter. Inside, the light turned soft blue, but the air felt heavy. The pod floated silently through space, away from the battlefield, following an old safety path written long before the war. Evan lay against one side of the pod. Sarah lay opposite him. They did not look at each other. Thin lines of light connected their bodies. Every time Evan breathed, Sarah felt it. Every time Sarah's heart beat faster, Evan felt the pressure in his chest. Evan was the first to speak. This thing. It's inside my head, he said slowly. Sarah clenched her jaw. It is inside mine too, human. They both tried to move. Pain answered. Evan groaned as his injured arm burned. At the same moment, Sarah gasped, grabbing her side. They froze. Evan looked at her. Did you feel that? Sarah nodded once. Yes. The pod spoke again. Bond. Synchronization at 12%. Pain response shared. Emotional state unstable. Sarah's eyes flashed with anger. This pod is forcing us to link. Evan shook his head. This is insane. You're my enemy. You destroyed my people, Sarah said coldly. Evan's voice tightened. Your fleets burned human worlds first. The lights flickered. Pain rushed through both of them at the same time. Sarah cried out, falling back. Evan grabbed his chest. The pod reacted. Conflict detected. Healing efficiency reduced. Emotional imbalance increasing risk. Evan breathed hard. So, when we fight, it hurts us both. Yes, Sarah said through clenched teeth. She tried to stand. Her legs failed. Evan felt the weakness in his own body, even though his legs were not injured. This bond, Sarah said, it links. More than flesh, Evan swallowed. It links feeling. For a moment, neither spoke. The pod hummed softly, trying to repair bones, seal wounds, rebuild tissue. But the progress was slow. Then something worse happened. Evan suddenly saw flashes. Again, not memories of war, but memories of her. He saw Sarah as a child, standing on a balcony under a purple sky. He felt her pride, her fear, her promise to protect. Her world. Evan gasped. I'm seeing things. Sarah stiffened. So am I. She saw Evan younger, wearing a human uniform for the first time. She felt his nervous hope. His wish that the war would end before he ever had to kill. Sarah's voice softened without her noticing. You did not want this war. Evan looked at her surprised. You felt that? Yes. The pod's lights brightened slightly. Synchronization at 25%. Memory sharing active. Saer shook her head. This should not be possible. Our species are not meant to bond. Evan laughed weakly. Yeah, well, looks like space doesn't care. Sarah almost smiled. Almost. Then the pod alarm changed tone. Warning. Healing requires emotional alignment. Hatred detected. Process slowing. Evan frowned. So if we keep hating each other, we will die slowly, Sarah finished. Silence. Return. Saer closed her eyes. I was taught humans feel nothing. that you only destroy. Evan watched her. We were taught aliens only lie. She opened her eyes. Perhaps both are lies. The pod pulsed again. Their pain eased. Just a little. Outside, stars passed quietly. Minutes felt like hours. Then suddenly, Sarah's body shook. Evan felt it instantly. A sharp fear, not his own. What is it? He asked. Sarah's voice was low. My people, they will scan this area. Evan's heart raced. Humans will too. The pod answered as if listening. External detection risk rising. Bond stability. Required for cloaking. Sarah looked at Evan directly now. Her golden eyes searched his face. If either side finds this pod, she said, they will destroy it. And us, Evan added. The pod dimmed its light. Cloaking requires deeper synchronization. Trust level insufficient. Evan let out a slow breath. So what? We need to trust each other. Sarah hesitated. Trust was a word she had never used with a human, but the bond forced honesty. Yes, she said quietly. Evan nodded. Then we start with this. He lowered his weapon completely and pushed it across the pod floor. Out of reach. Saera watched him. Slowly she released her blade. It fell with a soft sound. The pod responded instantly. Synchronization at 40%. Cloaking engaged. Outside. The pod vanished from sensors. Inside, both felt warmth spread through their wounds. Sarah leaned back, exhausted. This bond, it is changing us. Evan closed his eyes. Or maybe it's showing us the truth. Neither noticed the final warning flashing deep inside the pod's ancient core. Bond strength rising beyond safe limits. Outcome unpredictable. 2. Enemies were no longer just trapped. They were becoming something the universe had never seen before. The healing pod drifted in silence. Its light changed from blue to a calm white. The pain inside Evan and Sarah slowly faded, like a storm moving far away. Their breathing became steady. Their bodies felt lighter, but their minds were wide open. The bond had grown deeper. Evan opened his eyes and saw symbols moving across the pod walls. Old symbols. Not human, not alien. Something older. What is the pod doing now? He asked. Sarah watched the symbols with fear and respect. It is searching. History. Before Evan could reply, the light flared. The pod spoke again, slower this time. Bond level stable. Shared cognition enabled. Historical records unlocked. Suddenly, both of them saw the same vision. They were no longer inside the pod. They stood on a massive stone platform under a golden sky. Tall beings surrounded them, neither human nor alien. Their voices echoed like wind. These are the builders, Sarah whispered. The first ones. Evan felt her awe. He felt her fear. The vision changed. The builders created laws not for one species but for all. Laws meant to stop war. One law shone brighter than the rest. The law of contact. Evan watched as symbols formed words. No species shall bind life force with another hostile race. That's the law, Sarah said. The reason for everything. The vision shifted again. An early human team discovered the law. They tried to translate it. Evan's chest tightened. The translation was wrong. The law never meant hostile race. It meant active threat. The builder's true meaning was clear in the original symbols. Bonding forbidden only during active aggression. Not forever, not between species, only during war. Sarah staggered back in the vision. That changes everything. The vision showed what happened next. Alien leaders read the human translation. Humans read the alien response. Fear grew. Words became weapons. The first shot was fired because of a single wrong word. Hostile. Threat. Different meanings. Same sound. The war began. The vision faded. Evan and Sarah were back inside the pod, shaking. Evan's voice was quiet. All this time, the war was built on a mistake. Sarah pressed her hand against the pod wall. My people burned worlds. To protect a lie, Evan felt her grief as his own. The bond did not allow distance. The pod pulsed softly, truth recognized. Emotional shift detected. Their healing sped up. Bones sealed. Burns faded. Strength returned. Sarah looked at Evan, her eyes no longer sharp with hate. If this truth reaches the empires, the war would end, Evan said. A heavy silence followed. Then the pod alarm sounded again. External signal detected. Varelian patrol approaching. Sarah's body tensed. Evan felt it instantly. They are close, she said. My people. Evan's eyes narrowed. Human ships too. I can feel it through the sensors. The pod displayed 2 signals closing. In both sides. Same target. The pod spoke again. Bond entity classified as anomaly. Probability of survival if captured, 0. Sarah's voice dropped. They will kill us. Evan nodded. Both sides. The truth they carried was dangerous. The pod offered another message. Option available. Memory purge of 1 subject. Chance of survival increases to 48%. Sarah turned sharply. What does that mean? Evan already knew. It means, he said slowly, one of us forgets everything. The bond trembled. Sarah shook her head. No, the truth must survive. Evan met her gaze. Then neither of us forgets. The pod paused. Decision recorded. Bond classified as permanent. The word echoed in both minds. Permanent. Saera. Felt fear and something else. Respect. Evan felt it too. The pod began moving faster, pulling energy from its core. Emergency escape route initiated. Warning, system damage. Likely. Outside, space twisted as the pod jumped into a hidden corridor. Inside, the walls shook. Saera grabbed Evan's arm. He felt her grip, strong and alive. If we survive, she said, everything will change. Evan nodded. Or the universe will try to erase us. The pod's core flickered dangerously. Final warning. Bond strength exceeding design limits. Then the lights went out, and somewhere beyond the pod, 2 great empires prepared to hunt what they now feared most, the truth. The lights inside the healing pod came back slowly. Dim, unstable, flickering. Like a weak heart. Evan opened his eyes first. His vision blurred, then cleared. The pod was damaged. Cracks of light ran across the walls. Warning symbols flashed without sound. Across from him, Sarah lay still. Fear hit him before thought. Sarah. He said. At the sound of her name, her fingers moved. Evan felt it instantly through the bond. Relief washed through both of them at the same time. I am alive, she said quietly. The pod spoke in a broken tone. Emergency jump complete. Power at 31%. Bond entity unstable. Outside the pod. Space looked different. Dark empty. No stars. Evan frowned. Where are we? Sarah looked through the pod's weak sensors. A dead zone. No signals. No scanners. A place to hide. But only for a moment. Suddenly, the pod shook hard. Evan grabbed the side. Sarah gasped. Pain rushed through both of them, sharp and sudden. A new warning appeared. Pod hull breach imminent. Life support failure in 12 minutes. Sarah pushed herself up, ignoring the pain. This pod cannot hold us. Evan nodded. His body felt stronger now, but not enough. The pod showed one last option. Manual exit possible. Warning. Only 1 subject may exit safely. They stared at the words. 1, Evan whispered. Sarah's breath caught. The other will die. Silence filled the pod. The bond tightened, heavy with fear and knowing. Evan spoke first. You should go. Sarah turned sharply. No. You're the proof, Evan said. Your people will listen to you. They will kill me for this bond. She replied. You are human. Yours may listen. Evan shook his head. Humans don't listen during war. The pod alarm grew louder. Time remaining. 9 minutes. Sarah closed her eyes. Through the bond, Evan felt her past, her training, her oaths, her promise to never trust a human. Then he felt something break. She opened her eyes. I will not leave you. Evan felt her decision like a fire. The pod reacted. Conflict detected. Sacrifice logic engaged. Evan swallowed. What does that mean? The pod answered. Willing self-sacrifice increases. Survival chance for both. Saera reached for the exit control. Evan grabbed her wrist. Don't. She met his eyes. This war must end. She pushed his hand away. Then she did something no Varelian warrior had done before. She bowed her head. I trust you, human. The bond surged. The pod screamed with light. Bond synchronization. At 78%. Unlocking full system access. The exit door opened wider than before. Both could pass. Evan stared. It changed. Sarah nodded slowly. Because we chose each other. The hull cracked again. They moved together, step by step, supporting each other. Outside the pod was cold and dark. A broken station floated nearby, old, silent, forgotten. They reached it just as the pod exploded behind them, light flashing once. Then gone. Silence returned. Inside the station, Evan collapsed against the wall. Sarah caught him. He felt her strength. She felt his weight. They were alive, for now. The bond pulsed softly between them. No longer forced, no longer painful. Sarah looked around the station. This place is abandoned. But it has power. Evan gave a weak smile. Then we hide. Before she could reply, alarms echoed through the station. New signals. 2 fleets. Human. Alien. Both had found them. Sarah's eyes hardened. They will not stop. Evan stood up. Slowly. Stood up. Human. Alien. Both had found them. Sarah's eyes hardened. They will not stop. Evan stood up. Slowly. Then we don't run anymore. Through the bond, they felt the same truth. They were no longer soldiers of their empires. They were something else. Something dangerous. Something necessary. Outside the station, weapons powered up. Inside, a human and an alien stood side by side. And, for the first time in the history of the war, both sides were afraid of the same thing. Them. The abandoned station woke up. Old lights turned on one by one, casting long shadows across broken halls. The air smelled of metal and dust. Machines that had slept for centuries began to hum again. Evan leaned against a wall, breathing hard. His body was healing, but slowly. Sarah stood beside him, steady and alert. Through the bond, they felt the same pressure. They were not alone. Human and alien ships surrounded the station. Weapons charged. Scanners searched. Sarah looked at Evan. They will not ask questions. Evan nodded. They never do. A deep voice echoed through the station speakers. Unknown entity. Power down immediately. Human command. A second voice. Followed, sharp and cold. Varelian law declares you traitors. Alien command. Sarah's jaw tightened. Traitors to lies. The bond warmed between them. Evan pushed himself upright. If they attack, this station won't last. Sarah turned toward a control panel, brushing away dust. Then we do not let them attack. She placed her hand on the panel. Nothing happened. Evan stepped closer. It's not responding. Sarah closed her eyes. The bond shifted. She felt Evan's thoughts, his logic, his problem-solving instinct. He felt her instincts, her sense of energy flow. Together, they acted. Evan rerouted old power lines. Sarah adjusted alien energy nodes. Sparks flew. The station responded. Lights brightened. Shields rose. Outside, both fleets pulled back in shock. The speakers went silent. Saer opened her eyes slowly. The bond, it lets us think as one. Evan gave a short laugh. Guess teamwork really is powerful. A warning flashed on the screen. Bond classification updated. Permanent symbiotic link. Sarah stared at the words. Permanent. Evan felt her fear and her calm. I'm not afraid, he said softly. Are you? She shook her head. No, not anymore. Outside, human commanders argued. Alien leaders demanded answers. No one understood what they were seeing. A human soldier and an alien warrior. Linked, moving together. The station's sensors revealed something else. Sarah's voice dropped. They are sharing our image. Evan looked at the screen. Live feeds spread across both fleets, across the war zones, across the stars. Everyone was watching. Symbol appeared beside their image. Forbidden's bond. Sarah stiffened. My people fear this bond. It breaks their laws. Evan crossed his arms. Humans fear anything they can't control. The bond pulsed again. The station's core responded. It recognized them. Authorization granted. Bonded entities recognized as Joint Command. Sarah's eyes widened. This station was built by the builders. Evan nodded slowly. Then it knows what we are. Outside, weapons powered down. Not from mercy. From fear. A human commander spoke again. Louder now. Evan Carter, stand down. Return for debrief. Sarah heard another order. Sarah of Virel. Surrender immediately. They looked at each other. Evan shook his head. If we go back, they silence us. Sarah agreed. Or kill us. The bond tightened, not with pain, but resolve. Evan stepped forward. Then we speak first. He opened the station's broadcast. Channel. Every screen in both fleets lit up. His voice was calm. This war is built on a mistake. Gasps echoed through open channels. Sarah stepped beside him. Her voice followed his, steady and clear. The law you fight for was translated wrong. Anger erupted. Laughter. Denial. But then the station released the data. Builder symbols. Original. Meanings. Proof. Silence followed. Not peace, but doubt. The most dangerous thing to a war. Sarah felt tears rise. Not from sadness, but relief. Evan felt it too. The bond glowed. But the station alarm returned. High-risk response detected. Both empires. Preparing strike override. Sarah's expression hardened. They will try to erase us. Evan clenched his fists. Then we become impossible to erase. The station's core opened a hidden path. Escape corridor unlocked. Destination unknown. Sarah looked at Evan. Run? Evan shook his head. No. He smiled. Move forward. Together, they stepped into the light, not as human. Not as alien, but as something stronger than blood, something the universe was not ready for. And behind them, two great empires made the same choice to hunt them. And in doing so, to prove they were afraid of the truth. The corridor closed behind them. Light twisted, then faded. Evan and Sarah stood on solid ground again. A hidden world stretched before them. An old builder outpost, buried inside a hollow asteroid. Broken towers, silent machines, and deep symbols carved into the stone walls. The bond between them felt calm. Stable. Strong. Aer. Touched the ground. This place is sacred. Evan looked around. And forgotten. The outpost reacted to their presence. Lights awakened. Systems powered on. A large structure in the center came alive. Archive core online. Sarah felt it through the bond before Evan did. This place holds records, she said. The truth, in full. Evan nodded. Then we use it. Before they could move, the bond shifted sharply. Evan grabbed his head. Something's happening. Sarah felt it too. Signals. Human. Signals. But different. Not weapons. Messages. The archive projected a human face into the air. Older man. Uniform worn by time, not battle. Evan Carter, the man said. If you can hear this, do not shut it down. Evan stared. Admiral Hayes. Sarah felt his shock. The man continued. Some of us listened. Some of us checked the translation. Sarah's breath caught. The image changed. Human scholars, translators, ancient texts. They were wrong, the Admiral said. The law was wrong. The war was wrong. The bond warmed. Evan whispered. Humans admitted it. Sarah closed her eyes. For the first time, hope felt real. The archive opened fully. Builder records streamed across the air, pure, clear, undeniable. Human fleets slowed. Weapons powered down. Across human space. Commands spread. Cease fire pending verification. Sarah's voice trembled. My people will not stop so easily. As if answering her, the bond tightened again. New signals. Alien. But not war calls. Internal conflict. The archive displayed. Varelian council chambers, shouting, broken unity. Then one voice rose above the rest. A female elder, old, powerful. This bond was forbidden because we feared change, the elder said. Not because it was evil. Sarah's eyes widened. Elder Kieran. The elder continued, if the law was wrong, then so was our war. The council fell silent. The archive pulsed. Across alien space, hesitation spread, orders delayed, weapons lowered. The bond surged again, stronger, brighter. Evan felt pride. Not in weapons. Not in ships. But in choice. This is it, he said. This is how humans fight. Sarah smiled softly. With truth. But the universe was not done testing them. A sharp alarm cut through the archive. Unauthorized action detected. A rogue human fleet broke formation. A rogue alien war group followed. Fear had not disappeared. It had simply changed form. They want to end this before peace spreads, Sarah said. Evan's jaw tightened. Not on my watch. He stepped forward. Open broadcast. All channels. The archive obeyed. Evan's voice carried across space. This bond saved my life. Sarah joined. Him and mine, Evan continued. We were enemies. We were taught to hate. Sarah added, but the truth bonded us. Their words were simple. Clear. Human. Alien. Together. The rogue fleets hesitated. Pilots listened. Some powered down. Some did not. Weapons charged. The bond burned hot. Sarah felt fear. Evan felt it too, but neither stepped back. If they fire, Evan. Sud, we stand. Sarah nodded. Together. The archive released one final record. A builder message, ancient and calm. Understanding is the highest defense. The message echoed across all channels. The rogue fleet stopped. Weapons powered down one by one. Silence returned. This time, it felt different. Real. Evan exhaled slowly. Humans changed the game. Sarah looked at him. You chose truth over victory. The bond settled, no longer fighting the universe guiding it. But deep within the archive, a final warning remained unseen. Bond influence expanding beyond prediction. Long-term impact, unknown. Peace had begun, but legends rarely end. Quietly. Silence spread across the stars, not the silence of fear, but the silence that comes after a storm finally ends. Human fleets held their positions. Alien warships did the same. No weapons fired, no orders shouted. For the first time in generations, the war paused without force. Evan and Sarah stood inside the ancient builder outpost, watching the signals fade from red to neutral. Through the bond, they felt something new. Relief. Sarah rested her hand against the archive core. It is over. Evan nodded slowly. The fighting, yes, but the work is just starting. The archive released one final message. Not a warning. Not a command. An invitation. Joint Council protocol available. Bond entities. Required. Sarah turned to Evan. They want us. Figures, he said with a weak smile. The outpost opened a gateway. Light shaped itself into a path through space. Not a weapon. Not a prison. A bridge. They stepped forward together. The joint council chamber was unlike anything either had seen. Human steel mixed with alien crystal. Old enemies sat side by side, uneasy, silent, watching. All eyes turned to them, a human. An alien, linked, whispers filled the chamber. Sarah felt doubt. Fear, old hatred. Evan felt it too. But the bond did not weaken. It steadied them. A human leader stood first. You represent a danger. Sarah did not flinch. So does every truth. Anne. Alien commander rose next. This bond breaks our laws. Evan answered calmly. Then your laws were built to keep the war alive. Murmurs spread. The archive data filled the air again. Clear, simple, undeniable. No more lies. No more broken words. A child's voice suddenly echoed from the chamber edge. Why did we fight? Silence fell. No one answered. Because no one could. Sarah. Melt down, meeting the child's eyes. Because we were afraid to understand each other. Evan added, and because we never listened. The bond pulsed gently. The council changed. Not fast, but enough. A vote began. Not for victory, for peace. Lights shifted from red to white. War status terminated. A sound spread through the chamber. Not cheers. Breaths released. Some cried. Some simply closed their eyes. Sarah felt something she never had before. Freedom. Evan felt it too. They were no longer soldiers. They were symbols. The healing pod that once trapped them was rebuilt. Not as a weapon. Not as a prison. As a monument. A reminder of what almost destroyed the galaxy and what saved it. Humans and aliens began working together. Slowly. Carefully. Mistakes were made. Arguments happened. But war did not return. Evan and Sarah were offered titles, power, protection. They refused most of it. Instead, they became walkers between worlds. Messengers. Teachers. Living proof. Children grew up hearing their story. Not as myth. As warning. And as hope. Years later, on a quiet station far from politics, Evan and Sarah stood watching stars drift by. Do you regret it? Evan asked. Sarah shook her head. I regret the war, not the bond. He smiled. Same. The bond between them was no longer forced by a machine. It was choice. Trust. Understanding. Somewhere deep in space. Builder Systems recorded one final note. Humanity classified as unpredictable, emotion-driven, capable of ending wars. Without weapons, and beside it, another line appeared. Status. Humanity worthy of the stars. The universe moved on, but it would never forget the moment. Two enemies chose to survive together and changed everything.